Good evening. I'm Jim Willenborg.
And I'm Keith Durgee. Welcome to Venture Point.
We're back with our guest this evening, Tony LaPine, president and founder of LaPine Technology, a 3.5-inch rugged Winchester disk drive company. Tony spent his career before LaPine Technology with such notable companies as IBM, Memorex, IMI Onyx, and Irwin Magnetics. Tony, welcome to Venture Point.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
I saw your demo of your rugged disk drive at Comdex. Does it really work in a paint shaker?
Well, yes, it really works in a paint shaker. Actually, the drive, when put in a paint shaker and then taking it out of a paint shaker, works. Because the key to a drive like this is shock and vibration.
Does anybody else's work after being taken out of a...
None that we tested.
Stan Pratt was on the show. He's the editor of the Venture Capital Journal, and he used a number like there were 36 Winchester disk drives companies funded before yours. He had an acronym called JAWS, just another Winchester system. Why one more, Tony?
Well, that is a perception today out there that there are a lot of Winchester disk drive companies. And actually, there are less now than there ever have been, because there's been quite a shakeout in the industry. Which is good for this industry, because this industry is going through quite a maturing process, not too unlike what happened in the semiconductor industry in the mid-'70s. For those of you that were in the Valley, I've been in the Valley 30 years myself. I remember when Fairchild, a national semiconductor stock in the mid-'70s, was something we thought about using as wallpaper. And then came the late '70s, and Corrigan and LSI Logic, and many of us were amazed to find that he got venture capital money to fund that company. And actually, since 1979, there have been 59 companies, semiconductor companies, funded by the venture capital community, which is extraordinary.
So we've got 59 more Winchester disk drive companies
Well,
coming?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think that we've probably seen the last funding wave of what we used to know as a Winchester disk drive company.
What's special about your company that's going to allow you to compete?
Well, number one, we have attacked the largest and most rapidly growing market segment. The 3.5-inch market, 3.5-inch Winchester market, is growing at a compounded annual rate of about 240%. Now, the entire Winchester disk drive industry, or the requirement for storage, is growing at 40% compounded annually. So you have a rapidly growing market to begin with, and within the context of that rapidly growing market, you have a very rapidly growing 3.5-inch segment.
Now, you moved very quickly to get not only some financing from Prudential Beige behind you, but also your Japanese connection, which I gather is critical to this whole approach that you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
How did you manage to wrap that up so quickly?
Well, there's really two issues there. One is the Japanese connection, and the other is the timing. And certainly anyone who's watched this industry has seen that the floppy industry, the whole floppy disk drive industry, has moved offshore and fundamentally to Japan. In fact, I don't think there's a floppy disk drive manufacturer left in the United States. The Winchester disk drive arena is moving in much the same direction, particularly at the low end. So the challenge for us was to find not just an offshore location, but an offshore partner. It takes a lot of capital to launch a disk drive company, and instead of going out to the venture capital community to get the rest of that capital that we might otherwise have needed, we solved two problems. We not only got capital, because the Japanese partner Kyocera will be investing upwards of $10 million to launch this product in Japan, but we also obtained or received or affiliated ourselves with a premier offshore manufacturer, so that we have the low-cost, high-volume, high-quality product source, which is so important in this industry.
And your Prudential connection gave you the strength in dealing with them, or?
Well, I look at it as kind of a triarchy. Kyocera on the manufacturing side, Prudential on the financing side, and LaPine Technology on the development and the marketing side.
Not to keep coming back to gloomy things, but disk drive manufacturers, Mini-Scribe, Tandon, and Sugar, all seem to be doing really well, and then they hit a brick wall. what happened to them, and were they individual problems, or are they problems that are kind of industry-wide with disk drive manufacturers?
Well, some of both, and each had individual problems. Miniscribe was a young company, signed a very large contract with IBM. IBM subsequently cut back their orders significantly. They, I think, had over 80% of their output going to IBM. That's a no-no in business 1A. You just don't do that. Tandon was in the floppy disk market dominantly. The Japanese began to take that market over, and subsequently they were also hurt by IBM, in that IBM canceled a major segment of their orders, and Tandon had over 50% of its order base with IBM, which is another no-no. Shugart, well, Shugart's a whole different issue. Shugart is an example, I think, of the classic problem of a large company absorbing a exciting young company and the young company ceasing to exist.
So who would you mention as an unqualified success in this market?
Well, you know, I'm amazed at how few people know who's successful in this market, Keith. So much gloom and doom, but in this market there's a company called Quantum. And Quantum is an absolute success. They are now, I think, 5 years old. Their profits and revenues have doubled year to year. Their stock price is, I believe, somewhere in the high 20s, if not the low 30s. And they continue to perform in an extraordinary fashion. iOmega is another example of a company who's doing very well and growing quite rapidly. So there are two examples that you never hear about. I think only because there's a preponderance of bad news in the industry, and since news at this point is bad, people play it up.
We've got about 30 seconds before we have to take a break, but I had a question. With 25 or 36 disk drive companies, how do you know, and very few big customers, so you take IBM out, how do you get in the door? How do you, after they've seen 25 companies?
Well, we're currently, our plan, if I can talk to our plan, is to affiliate ourselves with a large company in the marketing segment of this business. In other words, if we would take, and I'm not at liberty to mention the name of this company, we do have a letter of intent for a marketing sales agreement, but this particular company is in the OEM business, has a large existing customer base outside of IBM, major affiliations with companies like NCR, Sperry Univac, AT&T, and DEC. And we're going to, our intention is to affiliate with this company and to market our product through their channels.
So you're covering all the bases to make a pretty protected company.
Well, I think in this environment, surviving the shakeout is of primary importance.
You seem to have covered a lot of bases with your Japanese situation covered and the prudential base financing. Where is competition generally in this industry right now? How do you
Well, that's the exciting part, Keith, because there really isn't a lot of competition. Currently, there's only 2 other companies shipping product, with 2 others announced. So there's only 4 other companies that have really announced product in this 3.5-inch area. LaPine Technology is the 5th, and our product is unique since it's ruggedized, and no one else's is, which I think is extraordinary today.
The only one that works in a paint shaker.
The only one you can bounce off the table.
Tony, thank you for being here. We certainly need a disk drive victory, and we hope this is it.
Thanks for watching. This has been the public offering of Venture Point. We hope you're with us each and every week at 7:30 Tuesday evening on Channel 48. Christine Gamble.